Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey guys, welcome back to Season 3 of Song Revolution. I can't believe we've been doing this show since 2017. And there's a whole catalog of incredible episodes back here in the archive. So be sure and scroll through and find some wonderful episodes like with Bear Reinhardt of Need to Breathe, or Matt Maher, Kim Walker-Smith, one of my favorites. And all of these are, from a few years back, but they are still awesome. So check out the archives of Song Revolution. We have a great season, great people coming up, and it's all so that you can ramp up. You can level up your songwriting, your artistry to fulfill your call to communicate the gospel of Jesus. Today I have a wonderful show for you out of Eden. Lisa, Danielle, and Andrea were in the studio earlier today, and we had a wonderful conversation about their career. You might remember Out of Eden. They were kind of big back in the day. They were an early contemporary Christian R&B gospel soul group, three sisters who just really rocked the world with their music back in the 90s. And then they disbanded. They went their own way, and they had their own lives, their own careers. But they're coming back for a 30-year reunion. They had covered the Bill Withers Lovely Day song back in the day, and now they have released a great new version that you're going to really enjoy. You're going to walk around singing Lovely Day, Lovely Day. It's a great song. You might remember the Bill Withers, but their version is fantastic, and a brand new EP that I know that you are going to love. And we had a wonderful conversation. So sit back, go grab a sweet tea, and enjoy with me on Song Revolution, Out of Eden. All right, Out of Eden, we have Danielle, Andrea, and Lisa in the studio today. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to it. And I started in Christian music 42 years ago. I can't believe it. And I was with the Gaithers for about 7 years, and then Integrity Music. But I remember you. I remember enjoying your music back in the day, 30 years ago, since you guys kind of hung up the towel a little bit.
Well, yeah, 30 years ago we came out.
Yes.
Yeah, as Out of Eden, three sisters, Nashville, Tennessee.
It was
so
just
this
the
is
start.
This is just a start. This is like a little homecoming for us.
That is
it's
so
really
great.
Nice to
Well,
talk to you
welcome
today.
back.
Thank
We're
you.
so glad. We missed you. Okay, so here's the deal. Our music, our NCS Collective, is distributed through NRT Music, which is Kevin McNeese, newreleasetoday.com. Big shout out to Kevin. And when I told him you were in the studio today, he said, "Oh, it's such a big deal. They're coming back." So you got some love from Kevin over at NRT.
Kevin.
So, well, today is just all about celebrating a new season for you, getting to know you guys a little bit, hear, what God's putting on your heart to do. But why don't we start with just talking about what you guys are doing? You started your career 30 years ago, ended about 2005, 6-ish, right there. And then a lot of life has happened since then. So why don't we just check in, kind of see what you've been up to? Babies? Children?
Yes.
Grandchildren.
Yes. And okay, well, Danielle, why don't we start with you? Catch us up.
Sure. So I feel like while we were in Out of Eden, we all had lots of different things in our hearts to do. So when we retired, we just ran full force towards those things. So I started in marketing in the music industry with E1, and then have continued in my marketing journey. So I'm now a director of marketing and just loving the whole executive life. It's something I dream, everyone else dreams about maybe being a singer or famous. And I always dreamt about being an executive.
And I think you've got the artist hair. It's like you've got the most art. Nothing against you lades at all, but I mean, come on. She's throwing down on the hair.
Yeah, I think it is interesting because no matter what I've done, I guess I'm kind of recognizable. So in any sphere of life, because of the hair and the way I dress and things, people associate me with the arts, being an artist, which I love. I love the creativity of that. So being able to bring that into the business world has been great for me.
It's
I also
beautiful.
have 4 kids, so 8, 6, and 4.
Wow, that's awesome. What kind of marketing do you do?
Right now, I like market for companies,
Oh,
so
okay.
just business marketing.
Just business,
yeah.
straight ahead stuff. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
awesome. Well, keep up the hair. That's for sure. You got to do that. I'd wear braids if I could. So, I mean, come on.
We can help you with
Full
that.
disclosure.
You know, we can do that for you if you want us to.
I would try just once with the beads. I don't know.
Around.
What about you, Andrea? What have you been up to for 30 years?
Oh man, going back, 20 years ago. Well, while we were in Out of Eden, and since I was young, I always wanted to be in medicine. And I would have people, when they were prophesying or praying over me, they would always talk about the gift of healing. And I didn't know how that would manifest in my life. But at the end of Out of Eden, I decided to go to school and went to nursing school and became a nurse.
Awesome.
And so now I've been a nurse for 13 years. And I currently work in the NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. And absolutely love it.
Hello. Yeah, it was applause from the boombox
Yes, love
for
it.
your career in
For
nursing.
my career, yes. And I've been married for 27 years.
Congratulations.
Have 3 children, 2 who are not children anymore. I have a 21-year-old, 18-year-old. They're both in college here in Nashville. And I have a 6-year-old.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
So, just been doing the mom life and the work life. And Danielle is recognizable, and I am a chameleon. And no one knew that I was in music.
Well, when you're in scrubs all the time.
You don't want the spotlight on
Right.
you. You really want it to be about your patients and their families. So.
What drew you to pediatrics?
I wanted to do pediatrics when I started my nursing career and just didn't have a way in. Even when we were in Out of Eden, I always did children's music ministry. And even after that, I always did preschool ministry. And so, I just knew that kids were my passion. And I still don't get tired of babies. I will see a baby on the street and be like, oh my gosh, they're so cute.
They are, aren't
But
they?
I don't have to have any more.
That's awesome. I mentioned to you before we started taping the show today that my daughter is a pediatric nurse and
Yeah,
has
that's
been,
amazing.
I think she's in her 9th year. And so
Yeah.
I knew early on that I was not drawn to anything medical because I have a very weak stomach.
Oh,
and,
you have to have a
it's
strong
all
stomach.
just gross. I don't know. And so I was a pastor. Little quick medical story here. So
Yeah.
I was a pastor at a church in the Midwest when my daughter was deciding she was going to do medical school and do the nursing thing. And I did a hospital call, and this gentleman was like really, really sick, and like I am a sympathy puker.
Oh, no.
And he was like,
So is Lisa.
okay, audience, I'm going to be gross here for a sec. He was like throwing up like a lot, right? And so I'm gagging in his room. And on the way out, I'm calling my daughter, are you sure you're going to be a nurse? If you got my genes, you're like such a pansy when it comes to this medical stuff. So good
Yeah.
on you, Andrea,
Well,
for being able to do that.
Well, I know. And it is true that you're calling when you see someone doing something and you're just like, can I get you anything?
Yeah.
And I try to tell them stories and they cannot handle
no.
it. So I
I'm with
kind
y'all.
of keep it to myself.
I'm with you guys. I think there's HIPAA. There's HIPAA rules. You can't.
Well, I don't ever say
you gotta
no
be
names.
careful
Yeah,
with
exactly.
that.
No names, no specifics, but they can't handle it.
Yeah, well, and you're here in town.
I
in the
am.
Area.
I've
Danielle's
stayed
in
in Nashville.
San Antonio.
San Antonio,
Yeah.
yep.
And so, Lisa, you're up in the D.C. area.
I am in the DC area. I'm also a sympathetic puker.
Yay.
But
Sympathetic pukers like unite.
yeah, unite. Outside
SPU.
of that, I'm fine. I actually wanted to. I wrote my first song when I was 5, and I also wanted to be a doctor from the time I was 5.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful that the Lord directed our path the way that He did, because I feel like music is probably the better path for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, live in Washington, D.C. After we retired, I started doing a theater, worked a lot with Nashville Children's Theater, did some stuff for Tennessee Repertory Theater.
Nice.
Did a lot of work with Gospel Music Channel. Had like a show with Bobby Jones, Dr. Bobby
I bet I've seen you because I used to watch Dr.
Yeah.
Bobby Jones. Yeah.
And did some fun stuff with them, and then had a daughter, Sophia. She's 13, which is wild, and pretty much stayed in the music sphere from worship leading and working in the songwriting world. I never really left, not that far away. It wasn't like my concentration, but it's just been such a part of my life for so long that it was something that I couldn't really just hang
Right.
up. So it's really cool now to be reunited with my and it feels so good with I call them my first best friends. And so just to be able to join back together in this musical expression that we love is really nice.
So awesome. And church work took you to D.C.
Yes. So, I work with Grace Covenant Church of Virginia. We're part of a larger group of churches called Every Nation. And
I know Every Nation from here, Bethel World Outreach.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was a pioneer worship leader for Bethel Chapel.
Okay.
Long before it
with
became
Pastor
Bethel.
Ray.
Yes.
So we went to Bethel. We started going in 98.
No, I
No,
think
earlier.
95.
Early, like
95.
90.
I
Yeah.
left in 92.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we just missed you.
I know,
yeah,
right?
So we were there when it moved from Bethel Chapel to Bethel World Outreach Center, and that's been our group of churches.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure about everybody else. Like we talk about everything, but then it's like, wait, what church do you go to?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, before San Antonio, I was there for 22 years.
At Bethel?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you know David Baroni?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, we did David's suffering from Parkinson's, and we did it wasn't a memorial concert. That's terrible. But honoring, what would you say? We just did we did an event to honor him recently.
beautiful.
Oh, wow.
6 weeks ago or so.
That's wonderful.
And they invited me to sing. I sang Almighty Cross that I wrote with David. And he was a writer for me at Integrity Music. And he and I have written, my biggest copyright, Almighty Cross, is with David.
Wow.
So prayers for David.
Yeah,
Love David and
absolutely.
Rita so much. But it was a
Absolutely.
beautiful night. Did you know Tina Kyle?
Shout
out to Tina. Oh my gosh.
She's one of my favorite apps. Every time she would sing at church, I just feel like there's a special anointing on her
There
life and on
is.
her voice. It was like God would visit in this. And I'm trying to remember the song that she would sing that would just. I won't remember it until
So
I'm driving. I'm
many.
on a plane back to DC, and then
Right.
I'll be like, John, I'll call you
She's
up.
going to be so happy we mentioned her. So
my
she
gosh.
lives right around the corner from us. She and my wife Donna are best friends in the world. And her late husband Mike, do you remember Mike?
yes,
He passed away
yes,
2 years
yes.
ago suddenly, and
Wow.
he was
Yeah,
my
I
dear
remember.
friend. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
sad to
love
lose
Tina.
Mike, but
Yeah, sorry to hear
Tina's doing great, and she's got family here. But shout out to Tina.
Shout out to she
Shout
would
out to the
sing,
Bethel.
She would sing, "Your presence, your
yeah.
glory, your welcome."
She did that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You're
love her.
welcome
So
here.
beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
yes.
Baroni song.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
So before Bethel, your sisters, I don't know if we said that,
Yes.
formerly the Kimmey sisters.
Yep.
And did you grow up here in Nashville or?
Yeah.
We grew up in Richmond, roots. And then I think we came to Nashville when I was 10, 9
Yeah.
or 10,
Okay.
somewhere in there. So this is our formative place. I feel like we are who we are because of Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville,
Yes.
yeah. So what was your religious background before Bethel? What was your church background?
So we were at
We were born again.
Born Again Church, which was in North Nashville, which is kind of like
on Trinity
non-denominational
Lane.
leaning, kind of Pentecostal. And then we went to Belmont Church.
Yeah.
And a funny story, we were at Belmont in the youth group, and we would go to, this is before we were in music, we would go to Amy Grant's loft, and
Right.
she and Michael W. Smith would host like the Belmont youth group, and they
That's
would do
so
like a
sweet.
worship night. And so when I was in high school, I was on homecoming court, or I was up for homecoming court, and if I made it, Michael W. Smith was going to be my escort. He had a red
Yeah.
Mazda Miata, and he was going to be my escort, but I didn't make it. So
Aw.
yeah, but those were like those moments just as a young person. Amy and Michael, they were celebrities to us, but in that space they weren't. They were just like mentors.
That's
and
so
to
sweet.
later, do what we're doing. It's just so cool how God like puts you in these environments, and he does so many things in your formative years that, he'll use later. So, but
That's
yeah, Belmont
awesome.
it was like
Church of Christ.
Church of Christ,
So
yeah.
can you go further apart from Pentecostal
Right.
to Church
Right,
of Christ?
right.
I guess you can if it's Belmont, because
Yeah.
Belmont was such an unusual
Yeah.
thing,
Yes.
an anomaly in that denomination, and still is, I suppose. But Pastor Finto, Don Finto,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
and Michael W. himself. I remember we were brand new in Nashville in 1983. We'd come here to take a church job, and it fell through. We had $40 and no place to live.
wow.
And we were just knocking around. We were couch surfing before that was a thing. And Airbnb had not even been dreamed of at that point. But met the Gaithers and got signed to a publishing contract and worked with them for 7 years.
That's
But
amazing.
I remember us being on a Wednesday night in the Belmont Sanctuary, and there's this little kid playing the piano and singing, and it was Michael W. But,
Wow.
but he wasn't Michael W. He
Right,
was just
right.
Michael Smith then. But it's
Yeah.
amazing to see what God's done in his life.
Oh
And
my
Absolutely.
he and Amy and so many people have been so generous in
Yes.
this town. So
Yes.
I was at Amy's loft just last week, actually, because she hosts this ministry that ministers to homeless people.
Oh, wow.
And they bring them in, and songwriters like our friend Cindy Morgan, Stevie Steves, Michael Farron spend a day with homeless people that are in homeless shelters,
Wow.
write songs for them, and then on Wednesday night that week they present the songs. And it's just beautiful.
that's
You just
amazing.
feel
It just gives me
Wow.
chills.
you feel the generosity,
Yeah.
of people like Amy, and I know Michael's been the same. So
Yeah.
here you are, in some way influenced by that. and-
Absolutely.
Also-
Absolutely.
And also, you mentioned the Gaithers. I feel like throughout our career, the Gaithers have been so kind and welcoming to us, and would just put us on stage, and you'd see everyone, even though we're a completely different genre of music,
Right.
and they would just be like singing and dancing along with our
Tears.
stuff. Yeah.
I think one of our last concerts was at a Gaither homecoming.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and you've also been. I mean, I'm sure God would have found a way, but you're here at least in part because of the generosity of Toby Mack and
Absolutely.
discovering you as young teens. And how did that happen? How did he find you?
Yeah, I don't even think I was a teen yet.
Yeah, Danielle
Oh, really?
was not a teen
Preteen.
yet. Yeah, she was a
like a
preteen. So we moved to Nashville. Our mother got a job directing the Fisk Jubilee Singers.
Wonderful.
And she had heard that Benson Music Group was looking for the girl version of New Kids on the Block. So that
and in
this was-
vogue. and-
Yes.
yeah, right.
So we moved here, and we were homeschooled at the time, so it was easy for us to move. We started dancing we started doing like talent shows, and met a lady named Lisa Jordan, who was affiliated in gospel music. We started dancing for different Christian artists, Angelo and Veronica.
Oh yeah.
Michael Peace, and while rehearsing for Michael Peace, we met DC Talk, and we sang for them. And it was a few years later that they started Goatee Productions, and they wanted to sign us. And our mom was like, "Okay, like nobody knows who you are as a production company, but we'll let you sign the girls if you take them on tour with DC Talk."
Shh.
And
Good from
so,
Mama. Good from Mama.
like sassy
Yes,
lady.
Stage Mama. I love that.
right.
That's great. That's great.
Right. So we went on tour, like the 65 city tour, playing America West Arena and Detroit Palace, and like
And we were in high school.
in high school, like literally in high school.
It's a dream.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and we were I've never felt more like safe. This you hear like scary tales of things that can happen to people in the industry, and God I think just put us with people that had such great hearts, and like I really honor them everybody from the crew to the lighting, like everybody was just warm and friendly and just a stand-up person. So
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Well, when you think about how God brings dreams to pass, sometimes in very different ways than we thought, was being out of Eden or a female trio, was that your dream as young ladies, young children?
No.
I don't think it
so.
was.
Yeah.
No,
I think that that's what made us so right for the moment that we were in, is because not that it happened to us, but we really didn't take it on as like, look at us, we're so famous, or we, have made it. I think we just wanted to sing for the Lord, honestly,
Yeah.
and just, sing for our peers and just be a great representation. And everything else just kind of came with it.
Yeah. I think we were in my recollection, if I'm being honest, I think we were kind of reluctant. We had different plans. Like, I wanted to go to medical school. Like, we just wanted to be kids. And I remember we were invited to a DC Talk show, and we went and we saw the impact that they were having on a crowd from like age 9 to 90.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
just,
right.
and I think we were just really struck on the way home. And I think we all individually and collectively said, okay, God, like if we could have that kind of impact, like, yes. But it really was a little bit reluctant at first.
I think a lot of our time in music was us actually surrendering to God's will and whatever He had for us. I think in some ways we would kind of we would fight it somewhat, wanting to do our own thing, or especially when Andrea got married and then she had a kid, and I remember her being pregnant, and we danced a lot on stage. So she was,
There were no
it's like-
excuses.
yeah, I
Keep
mean,
dancing.
yeah, we're still going
I'm just
up
going to
and
stand
down
here and
yes.
move back and forth.
Yeah, so there were a lot of different times where it was a new surrender to say yes to God and yes to the things that He had versus our own ideals and ambitions. But whenever the rubber hit the road and there was that conflict, and then we said yes, there was always such a grace for what we did. I remember back in the day, people would always ask us, like, how do I get known? How do I do what you guys do? And how do I, get connected in the music industry? And we'd always be like, I don't know how God did this for us. Because it wasn't us. We were just saying yes and like, keep going. Yes and keep going versus really pushing and trying to become something for ourselves.
That's beautiful. So what is the step of obedience or surrender now, these years later? Your cover of Bill Withers' Lovely Day was cool back in the day, but the new one is really cool. It's very current, very hip. I love it. I've listened to it probably 18 to 25 times. It's really lovely. It's really fun. I really, really enjoy it. But you're coming back with a single, and then the EP, probably about the time this podcast is airing, your new EP is going to be out. So what is the yes in this moment?
That's such a great question.
Yeah. Well, one is coming back together to do this.
Yeah.
I think there's been opportunities in the past, where we could have done it, but we're never fully aligned. Like, it never felt like this is the moment. But something about someone actually on Instagram told us that it was our 30-year anniversary of Lovely Day. And it's just all together, we were like, this is the moment. Like, let's do it. We were finally unified about it.
Yeah.
And so even in coming back, I feel like there's a surrender in that, like in not having to control everything, even though we're adults now. And, we have our own lives, but still choosing, God, whatever you have for us this time around in this moment, again, we say yes.
So somebody reminded you on Instagram, but what was that the impetus to do this?
For sure.
Yes.
It really was.
It was.
Wow.
And we just thought, oh, wow, it's our 30th? What? That's crazy. We should do something. And like Danielle said, we were all on the same page. But it's a very different industry that we're stepping into. And having kind of been in and out of it in different ways, it's like a real learning curve, and it really is a faith walk. And it's just like, okay, well, all right, well, Lord, we felt like you want us to do this, we'll just do it. And I think it's nice to be able to hold it lightly as well, and just really do something for fun to honor our fans and to honor, our legacy.
That's beautiful. So your lives aren't really dependent on it. You're all successful. You have your families. You have your life set. So this is just a wonderful new season to make some music and have some fun.
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
band back together.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think
Exactly.
it's also we want to inspire those who have families, who have jobs, but also have a dream in their heart of something that they want to do for themselves, or something that God is still wanting to do through them. Sometimes we can get so busy in our day-to-day life, and just get stuck in the mire of
Right.
being a caregiver and doing all those things, but God still has something for Andrea, for Lisa, for Danielle, for John. And it's just tapping into that and saying, I don't know how it's going to work, but God, you will make a way. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's beautiful. Well, it just really reminds me of what we do here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. Put a little plug in here because we work with people of all ages. I work with people that are in their teens and 20s, and then we work with people all the way up into their 70s.
Wow, I love that.
If you look on our website at the NCS Collective, we have our version of a record label, and we have people of all ages. And my belief is it's never too late to be who God wants you to be.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. I think our culture tries to tell us that, if you're over the age of 19, like it's over for you. And that's just not the case.
true, yeah.
It's just not the case. So I love that you guys are doing that.
We're doing it. I'm 66, and I think I'm making the best music of my life. I'm in my pop years.
There you go.
Yeah. So go check it out. Like me on Spotify. And,
Absolutely.
well, we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to come back and talk about your songwriting, Lisa, and just your song influences, and talk about music and whatever you want to share about your new EP.
All right, sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. So I'm back with Danielle, Andrea, and Lisa, also known as Out of Eden, making a comeback in 2025, reviving Bill Withers' Lovely Day, which is a fun song. Really love it. So it's good to pick up where we left off a few moments ago and talk about song influences and just, of course, Bill Withers. So he's got to be there. But I know that maybe folks like BB and Cece and who else? Who else has kind of spoken into your musicality through the years?
So I'll go first. I think probably one of the most significant for me, I remember being 9 or 10 and going over to our neighbor's house and listening to Michael Jackson records, listening to Off the Wall and Thriller, and hearing the musicality, hearing the melodies, hearing the counter melodies, and that being just really a bedrock for me as far as pop goes. We weren't really allowed to listen to secular music,
right.
so but that was just like, I don't know, something that
You sneak.
you know,
I mean, you gotta do it.
sneak and you just go and listen to what you gotta listen to. And then in the Christian space, like early on, I'm dating myself, but Sandy Patty, Leon
course,
Patillo,
yeah.
Crystal Lewis, Glad, the Imperials, Petra, David and the Giants,
Yeah.
DeGarmo and
Russ
Key,
Taff.
Russ Taff, First
Yeah.
Call, the Gaither Vocal Band. Like these are all, I think Christian music is one of those genres where, especially when we were growing up, there wasn't enough of any one thing for you to be pigeonholed.
Right.
So you really got to ingest all types of music, so for us to be able to listen to Michael Peace and DC Talk and also Petra and DeGarmo and Key, you get this wide range of influences. And I think that really has helped as songwriters to we just have a more expansive view, I think, of music and melody and ideas.
Okay, so if you had to take one song to the moon, one song, Living
Me, that's
Forever.
super easy for me.
Okay, what?
It would be Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles,
Strawberry
which Toby
Fields
introduced me to
Forever.
when we were in the studio for our first record. I was 13. And he's like, you like rock? Well, let me show you the foundation of rock. And I was like, okay. and he played the Beatles, and my life
Picture
changed
yourself
forever.
on a boat in a river. See, that's my childhood. Tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Come on, now, why that? Why would that one be it for you?
I don't know. He introduced me to all of their music. So the fast song, I think it started with Help, and he just went from there. But when I heard Strawberry Fields Forever, something about the emotion of the music and the way they sang it, it just everything. It just spoke to me as a 13-year-old.
Maybe an epiphany of what music could be.
What it could be.
Blew your mind, for sure.
Yeah, to me, that is the ultimate song. So
now, did you go on to drugs and alcohol and a debauched lifestyle?
I've never done a drug, so I didn't follow the lifestyle. Just loved the band.
That's awesome. What about you, Andrea?
Oh my goodness, it's so hard. I'm not a favorites person. I listen to everything, and I have a different answer every time.
That's okay. What's your answer today? I don't care.
What's coming to mind is it's just wild, but Heal the World, Michael Jackson. Just like that classic song. I like a song with a lot of depth that says something. So I'm going to go with that for today.
That's awesome. Lisa.
That's so great. I think I might go Off the Wall, Michael Jackson today. I probably think it's going to be either a Michael Jackson song or maybe like a Coldplay song that I take to an island or to the moon, but we'll go with Off the Wall today.
All right. Well, those are all beautiful answers, and everybody has their own, their own reasons. So who originally picked Lovely Day all those years ago to do the very first version?
That was a Goatee Brothers call. So the Goatee Brothers was Todd Collins, Toby McKeon, and Joey Elwood. And we're working on our first record. And Todd was really instrumental in kind of not necessarily introducing, but certainly immersing us in some of that 70s soul music, the Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and Bill Withers was one of them. And that was their idea for us to remake that song. And
Brilliant
the
idea.
funny thing is, it was between that and the other thing that was mentioned was We Are Family. Because we're sisters.
Lovely. I love that song. But.
Which is a wonderful song.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't see, we are family. It's almost too on the nose, So we went a different direction and we decided on Lovely Day.
Only a song called Sisters would be the only one that would be a little too obvious, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're glad you did. Now, what prompted the remake of it? It was just the one? You just couldn't not do it?
Could not do it.
Yeah.
Could not do it. Danielle polled our fan page, and that was one of the songs, I think the top song.
That was the top one.
Yeah, that people wanted
Makes
us to
sense.
revisit.
Yeah.
And a lot of how we're looking at this EP is, if we release these songs today, what would we do with them? What would they sound like? And Lovely Day, to me, lends itself to that kind of just breezy Afrobeats kind of style. And so that's what we decided to go with. And I love it. I think it just feels, it just feels so good. Like it feels
really
really, really
does,
good.
yeah.
So I'm really grateful for the production and who we were able to work with on this. And
Who did you work with, Lisa?
so I worked with the MD from my church, Darian Duncan.
Okay. Shout out to Darian.
Shout out
Yeah,
Darian.
great
Super
job.
talented. He's one of those multi-instrumentalists. He plays bass, but he can play everything. I think he just did a fantastic job on the music.
He did.
And it just feels really good.
Very
to me,
cool.
so.
Great arrangements. You guys sound fantastic.
Thank you.
Better
Thank
than
you.
ever, and just really love it. Now, the rest of the songs on the EP, are they remakes too, or are they new songs? What are those about?
So we're doing a couple of new songs, and then we are revisiting 4 songs of our most popular, and maybe one in the cut, kind of record, but really just kind of imagining what they would sound like if we came out with them in 2024. So it's a fun stretch of the imagination, fun way to stretch the imagination and just to stretch our creative muscles and think outside the box where these songs and these melodies are concerned. It's fun.
It is
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Favorite song among the bunch besides Lovely Day?
We're doing a new song called Selfies that I'm pretty excited
Cute
about.
title.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty excited about that song, and conceptually it's just talks about selfie culture and social media culture and how the tendency is to draw the attention to ourselves, but we're really called to be a reflection. And that's one of my favorites. So
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and I think before Lisa was saying that we're walking into an industry that is so different. We retired right before the social medialization of everything.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a word.
I liked it though.
We'll make it a
I
word.
think
We'll
it was
make it a
really
word.
good.
Mediation.
Yes. And so
Mediazation.
coming back into that, and you put something out, there's this immediate feedback loop, and then there's this dopamine hit if people
True.
like it, and there's this disappointment when they don't. And that's, we used to do a record, you put it out, and then you see, oh, here comes the reviews, and then you hope for the best. But it wasn't a constant feedback loop. And so we're not doing the song like, you guys are all dealing with this, but we're in it too. We're still on socials, and we're still putting things out there and experiencing those feelings and trying to make sure that everything we do is a reflection of Jesus, right? Like that's what it's all about. But that's very countercultural to say, you know what, it's not about me. It's really about him. So,
And to use the medium.
Yes.
Right? To say, don't look at me, but oh, by the way, here's a selfie.
Right.
I'm with John Chisum at Song Revolution today.
Yes, and that's going up, John. We're going to take our picture. We're putting it out.
That's all but I get it. It's like, and one of the things that we deal with when we're talking with new artists is how do you be selfless and yet promote yourself?
Yeah. So hard.
Yeah,
It
really
is hard.
Yeah.
So
it's
what's the
difficult.
answer of that?
And you find that people that are good at self-promotion end up doing really well. It's like, it's amazing to me. Like, I personally think you can be perhaps less accomplished or maybe even less talented at, like say a songwriter. You can be, you can have two, like one really incredibly talented songwriter, one marginally talented. The one that is able to connect and kind of
It's
like
so
hustle,
true. So
you'll
true.
be like, wait, what? Like they weren't even that
Danielle, marketing queen at the other end of the table, she knows that's
and it's,
true,
and
right?
it is. It's like, how does that happen? But so there has to be some of that, but I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Wrestling with it in songwriting.
Exactly.
I look at it as winning the opportunity to serve people. Because we've had to do a lot of marketing. I've thrown so much good money after bad trying to figure out how to get in front of aspiring songwriters and artists and wrestling with all the same things that we're talking about here. But I've really come to look at the marketing money as me investing, sowing the seed so that I can win the right to serve people. And so I want to encourage you with that, and anybody with a good heart out there who's not just, trying to take over the world with their socials, but to realize that if you don't do something, then we won't know. We don't have the opportunity to enjoy, what God's doing in your life. Any other songs stand out? And I do want to talk about the songwriting process. So how many of these songs are originals, and what's special to all of you guys about them?
So 4 or 5 originals, and then 2 remakes.
Do we have selfies?
I mean, 2. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Other way around. 4 or 5 remakes and 2 originals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have selfies.
So we have Window. Meditate. Here's My Heart.
Meditate?
So Meditate.
I thought I heard that. Maybe I got
we're talking about the remakes.
The remakes.
I heard that.
Yes.
I thought that was a really sweet song, and I thought it was like an unusual topic, because meditation is very Christian. It's very biblical.
Right.
It's also very Eastern.
Yes.
And so when I was hearing it the other day, when I was researching you guys, I'm thinking that is an unusual title and song because it's not as accepted in mainstream Christianity because they think
right,
and they don't think just being quiet in the presence of the Lord.
Right,
So
right.
what do you think about that song, and why was it important even back then to do and now to remake?
Well, like you said, I mean, meditation comes from the Bible. David talks a lot about meditating on the word. And I think that when Lisa wrote it, it was a very busy time in our lives, right? We're always traveling. And sometimes you can take your ministry and think that you're doing enough because you're outwardly, ministering, you're talking about God, you're singing. But do you take the time to actually have your own relationship with God, to actually meditate on his word for yourself? Because you're pouring out, but are you pouring back into yourself?
So good.
And so I think that's, I think that's why you wrote it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well said. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, what was the other original? Selfies and Window?
Window is a remake.
We remake. Okay.
Window is a
I
remake.
missed that one.
The other original is TBD because
Okay, all right. Girl, all
it's
right.
Speaking of the songwriting process,
TBD. TBD.
right, there you go.
To be done right now for you, Jesus. TBD.
So you're
love how
writing
you
the
sing
song.
it.
I
Sing it to
love
Get a
it.
co-write.
Right,
All
there you go.
There you
There
go.
you go. There you go. Yeah, so that's that one we're still in process.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
Darian arranging and producing all of them? Or?
No. So we went back to some producers that we worked with
Awesome.
originally.
Sorry,
so-
Darian.
Yes, no.
Sorry to break it to you on the podcast.
For some of the songs. But yeah, Darian worked with me. He did, I did a song for the 90's worship music project, 90's worship documentary. Just to Be Close to You, a remake of a Fred Hammond
Nice.
song. He produced
Yeah.
that song with me as
Beautiful.
well. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's very different this time around, with the way our lives are set up. I used to just sit around and I would sing all the time and I would record and then I would sit in my house and, play the chords and write everything down and present, 30 songs to them and they would pick the ones that
sound
that they liked. And there was just that's all that I did. I had nothing but time to write and be on the road. That's all that we did. Now it's just way different. So trying to find time to not just nurture the creative, but actually pull on it. Okay, come on, here you go. Show up. It's very different when you have families and jobs and the whole thing. So it's been a great I think exercise to try to find the creative time to do this project.
Yeah, absolutely.
sure.
Well, we're excited about it and just love what we've heard so far. Now,
Thank
is there any
you.
touring in the future for you guys with it? Or are you just going to select dates only?
Probably spot dates.
Spot dates,
we have very, we have some obligations, in our personal lives, but we actually are doing a concert in San Diego on
Awesome.
the 18th. So it's kind of opening the door to see how it goes and hopefully do a lot more.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be watching that. You have a website. Do you have a way for
Yes.
Danielle, marketing queen?
Yes, exactly. Yes,
God
they
for
can follow us on
Danielle.
Instagram, Out of Eden Official, Facebook under Out of Eden, TikTok under Out of Eden Official, which it feels so weird to say. But also we have a website, outofeldenofficial.com.
It's beautiful. Well, you guys go out there and connect with the newly remade Out of Eden all these years later. We're very excited about it. Now, let me ask you one last question. What would you say to aspiring artists or songwriters, singer-songwriters who are facing, we talked about the social media dilemma and the marketing, but, what would you say to someone who's thinking, God's calling me to this at this point in their lives, no matter what age they are?
Well, so I live in San Antonio, but I do work with a lot of songwriters down there and, participate in songwriting days and songwriting camps, a lot like what you do. And songwriting, I wouldn't say is my thing, but it's something I've dabbled in. I would say it's very important to be around people that are like-minded, things like songwriting days and retreats, to have time to get those creative juices flowing, to pull on those creative juices, even if you don't fully finish all of your songs, even if you prefer writing by yourself. I would say get around other people and work on your art, work on the art of creation, because you never know. One day might be a dud, the next day it might be a song that changes people's lives forever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would just say you have to, as an introvert and someone that surprisingly, it's tough to like put your babies out there. I would say be generous. Be generous with your ideas. Be generous with your songs. Don't feel like you have to like hold everything loosely or tightly rather, but hold it loosely. Like how you were talking about, it's like service. So you may not want to sing on Instagram. You may not want to share your ideas, but I think when we look at it like a gift that we have and that, if you offer it freely, I think there's more opportunity for things to come back to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, you guys, thanks so much for being here today. It's been delightful. I knew it would be, but till you get in the room with someone, you never quite know how it's going to go down. But you guys are lovely. So excited about the new music.
Thanks,
and just
John.
really just about who you are. You're lovely humans. You're making a difference in the world just for your family and for your communities and churches and now for us. So Danielle, Andrea, Lisa, out of Eden. Thanks for
so
being
much.
here.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for having
us.
us.
Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.